look, your expectations, your preconceptions are colouring everything you see, hear and think. I went to a meeting with a lady who was there who didn't expect to be there, who has been, if you like, a practicing enemy for some years now. She greeted us at the door and we greeted her as friends. It was an incredible achievement for all of us because we've been at odds with each other for about, I'm not sure, 3 or 4 years. Possibly 4 or 5 years. And I embraced it and said, bless you. Meant it, of course. And she didn't say bless you because she doesn't think quite like that. But she embraced and she was being her gracious self. We were all doing at the limit what we could do to be our most godly. And it was quite a strange sort of meeting. It was, I'm not sure what the lady calls herself who was running the meeting. She was, I think, I don't know, she's into sound and vibrations and takes you through a whole mixture of sound, and you're laying on the floor listening to these things, and in her understanding, you're meant to be transported into some sort of etheric a consciousness and state, and of course from her point of view, and those who have willingly come to the room, to be in a heavenly state, a blessed experience, and one that will help change your life to goodness. That's the understanding of the philosophy, if you like, or the thoughts behind it. And so we went through this, I don't know, about an hour of this one way or another, and then we had what in England would have been called a faith tea. I think it's called here bring a plate, or whatever it's called. Anyway, we had a lovely meal afterwards. They were all, it was all vegetarian, of course. Fine. Great fellowship, talking to people I knew, many of whom in the room, it's about 15 of us in all, you see, I hadn't seen for years, and have been good friends in the past. But because of the great difficulty, principally with the lady I was talking about, who greeted us at the door, and one or two of her friends that were not there, I hadn't seen some people for years. One chap who is now in charge of the overall meetings of that society locally, he chatted on to me for, I don't know, probably might have been best part of an hour, could have been, certainly half an hour anyway. Couldn't keep track, partly because I was so interested in what he was saying. And we chatted, and the whole evening was focused on being a blessing to everyone there. course, here's 2 points. One, a fairly transitory one, I suppose, in the discourse here. I was in the right place. I'd been thinking about, from the Astronomy Society, we've been thinking about light and it being a wavelength of vibration. From there, I'd come across someone who was into selling a special device for harmonizing the Wi-Fi effect on the brain and the mind. The belief that perhaps the intensity of Wi-Fi signals around us these days is harmful, and this device is understood to not so much harmonise or change the wavelengths in any way, or to still them, but simply to override them with what was understood to be correct wavelengths, correct Wi-Fi type influence in the atmosphere around one. So this device sends out what is described as the sort of Wi-Fi influence that we are naturally disposed to as a consequence of our environment, planet, and no doubt solar radiated effects as well, the lot, everything, the way it should be, dominating. So it's a bit like someone's whispering bad things in your ear, but if you like, the preacher's overriding it in a fairly strong voice. It's a sort of notion that it can be swept away or overruled by a stronger current of the correct vibration. And of course, we're in I find myself a meeting where you lay on the floor and listen to bells, gongs, bowl soundings, incredibly pure notes, like listening to tuning forks, but of every all sorts of wavelengths. The big gong gives a very deep, amazing sound. But even a glass can give a celestial sound, quite astonishing. So that's the, if you like, surface content of why we were there and the significance to it, why we should have been there, and so on. But the real, deep, significant underlying reason was, of course, reunion, a healing of fellowship, absolute gift of God in his kindness, his rescue of us being at odds with each other, with this lady in particular for the last few years, and a couple of her associates. And it's extended through that sort of organisation that we belong to other related fellowships across the country. The poison sort of divides and separates and generates negativity. And we've been battling with this for some years. In as much godliness and good intent as we've managed to bring to the situation, but we hadn't got anywhere, if you know what I mean. And suddenly we find we're on the steps going into this little building. The wrong lady, if you like, is there on the steps, but she's absolutely the right lady. And we're in the role of reconciliation. Perhaps she's wanted it too, in a way. And we have. You see, perhaps it's that underlying bedrock that we are all here to bless each other. Certainly we're playing these roles. But we're playing these roles to godly purpose. It's not the reality of what it seems. You know, you are not wrestling with a true villain, a true witch. They're playing the role that we might learn from being part of this play. You know, I learned to be Mark Antony in Julius Caesar, you know, the Shakespearean thing, at school. And I've referred to this in my recordings before, haven't I? But the words that I learnt off by heart in order to act the part of being Mark Antony, I realised were significant. That words are significant. You know, it's sort of, this is early training for Marshall. He's only about, I don't know, whatever I was, 13 or something, you know. The notion that betrayal could quite vanquish one, and in his mantle muffling up his face, even unto the base of Pompey's statue, even so great Caesar fell. There was a fall, I can't remember. Then you and I and all of us fell down while bloody treason flourished over us. Do you see, I had entered into a part, felt a different reality, understood something of its meaning, value and purpose, and lessons that could be drawn from this experience. And it was a fantasy, of course. It's make-believe. I mean, no way did Caesar know, did Shakespeare know what Caesar and Mark Antony felt, did, and so it's all myth, isn't it? But it's a very instructive myth. And that is what maybe we're in a world of uncertainty, universe of uncertainty, but maybe the situation we're in here, that we've agreed to play these parts. I might be playing the role of saint or sinner, you know, villain or hero. But we play it well. But the reality is, we're children of God from heaven that all have a need that needs to be sorted out. A lesson to be learned here. So we're in a school play. We're doing a drama. You're playing your part and I'm playing mine. At this precise moment, I'm well, no, a chap who's put together hopefully wisdom on YouTube to bless people. I'm playing this role, aren't I? I'm not this person. I'm the person I am in glory. And you are too. You are not, you know, the housewife, the husband, the worker, the manager, the king, the serf. witch, the lion, or the wardrobe. You're playing the part, and you're here to play it well. Now, part of that play here might be your experience in switching from one role to another. We have associates that have switched from prison record, everything wrong in their life, drugs, violence, harm, to absolute saintliness, Christian member. Astonishing turnarounds. I've had people the other way that have been the most loving, wonderful persons. And have then gone through the experience of the switching to be the opposite. And knowing the contrast of doing so. And the consequence of doing so. We are all playing a part. We're not judging because we know we're only, this is just an act. I'm not what I appear, nor are you. We're children of God in heaven, who earnestly have come to help each other and are being greatly blessed by doing so. And going through this experience of such, isn't that wonderful? I am surrounded by angels, and I'm not aware of it, namely you. And you too, namely me. Isn't that lovely? Bless you. And I know you are blessed. And you know I'm blessed too. Have I destroyed the reality of the play we're in? Yeah, but we can play again, can't we? Perhaps we need to, do we? What shall we play next? How about something utterly wonderful? Let's play out here something wonderful. Perhaps that's what our friends here also need. Something wonderful to contrast with. They're experiencing at the minute not being something wonderful. They're playing that part, and we have been too. How about we now all play the part of being wonderful? Oh, you say there'll be some that don't wish to. No, it's not quite like that. There'll be some here who won't be wanting to play the part here, because that's what we need to bounce against, to bring out the reality of the contrast. This is the universe of good and evil, that place beyond the garden. It's not devoid of God. He still chats to us. He's still there every moment and dwells in us. And he is most certainly running the show. He's in charge, the director of the performance. There's no point in arguing with him. Well, you can. He'll listen to reason. If it's a good idea, he'll incorporate it. And if not, perhaps he'll build into the play something to help you and bless you, to put it right. Yeah, you might feel this is a bit fanciful, to say the least. Yes. Some plays are. Some films are. But my goodness, don't they have a message? blessing. Thank you, Dad, for all your blessings. Goodness, have I spent 20 minutes already? Thank you, Dad. Oh, goodness, yes, Marshall, and you haven't quite rounded on where you started. Yes, our preconceptions. You see, both sides, when I met this lady on the steps, well, we met this lady on the steps, going into the building, we both had good preconceptions. We have for years been wanting it to be right, trying to be a blessing even in difficult circumstances with the persons that we're at odds with. And they too, you see, certainly this lady, and certainly one of the others in my mind, I say certainly, you know what I mean? I can see signs, actually I can see signs of all three having wanted it to be right, but somehow not managed to do it. But perhaps this lady and the others strongly want it now to be right. And the reasons for wanting it wrong have dissipated with time and the futility of the struggle. So we meet with good preconceptions. We would like it to be right. And each is, if you like, visibly giving the forms. We're advancing to each other saying, oh, hello. I mean, literally, how nice to see you. And we both mean it. Both sides mean it. And, well, ladies tend to embrace, so the person I'm with embraces her and they embrace each other and somehow, you know, well, that's all very well because women do this and they embrace. Now, she's going to feel, for all sorts of male-female reasons, slightly cautious of doing it. She's not quite expecting to be able to do the same with Marshall, but Marshall is, because Marshall's way of expressing reconciliation and love is to embrace. So Marshall's got his arms open, which is basically saying, I'd like to be embraced too. And of course she wants to, because she's being her best, for goodness sake. So we embrace. And I automatically say, no, that fortunately it's built into me, bless you. Ah, bless you. Lovely to see you. I mean, something, the equivalent of that, whatever I did say, I couldn't remember actual, but I'm pretty certain I said, bless you, I'm pretty clear on that. And meant it, of course, with all my heart. You see, our preconceptions steer our future. You're going to make sure your preconceptions are utterly godly and wonderful, loving, kind, good, faithful, gracious, blessing, full of hope, joy, peace, everything good you can pack into it. Your preconceptions that you bring to the party. And sure, you'll gel wonderfully with one or two other people that are doing the same, and others that are crying out for help. You'll be a great blessing. And some you'll infuriate because for some reason or other they're seeing you quite differently. They have different hostile preconceptions perhaps. Some are just puzzled, of course. We're pretty intense, but we all are in our way, you know. We are our hopes and aspirations. We are the values that we are holding. You're going to hold the best values you possibly can. That you're not only a wonderful blessing to others, but he does a greater thing in you. That you're a wonderful blessing to yourself. I mean in a nice way, I don't mean in some selfish way, don't I? Bless you. Right, now, I think I probably have succeeded in winding up this recording. Bless you. Remember, hold good preconceptions. Put on rose-tinted glasses. You will be acting in such a way that it allows those that want to be a blessing to be a blessing. And so you will bless them because God will do a greater thing in them than through them to you. Bless you. Thank you, Dad. I'd like to note here, and much earlier, I mean, a couple of, 1 year, 2 years back, I'm not sure, a similar incident. I found I was at the retreat centre I was at. I went into the chapel. I mean, I'm drawn to the Christian side of things, and for a quiet time, and another lady was there who was also drawn to the Christian chapel, even though she's not Christian. She's Eastern. And, well, she is an associated part of this trouble we've been having for the last few years in the organisation nationally. And she's a key person in it too. Or was. I don't want to label someone as, but to give you the story, after all, we're talking about a play that we're in, aren't we? And she's there, and I'm there, and we say hello, of course, because we're both at the retreat, and I mean, well, we're meant to be in fellowship, so we're acting as if we're in fellowship, even though we know we're at odds with each other. And we chat. And we talk for, I don't know, a long time, say an hour for argument's sake. And it's absolute reconciliation without touching on any of the issues at all. But somehow in the conversation and relating to each other, we are both heavily communicating that we want it to be right in some way, despite the harm that's been going on. We don't actually refer to the problem, the harm, but we just know that what's driving our conversation is this desire for true fellowship, to put it right in some way. And I just know, we know in our hearts as we came away, that we now have the right preconceptions about the other person. And by right, I mean the only type of preconceptions and rose-coloured glasses, if you like, that are of value to build a good future and remind ourselves that, quite simply, we love each other. That in some sense, perhaps, all the discord has just been a play for us to learn by. Do you see, plays can be an incredible blessing to us that we take part in. Stories, fiction, yes. Angels come to give a play, a performance. To teach the children. Children come to make a play, a performance. To become angels. And we watch the play, and, we're the parents, we watch our kids at school in the play, and they're playing all sorts of parts, good and bad in the play. No matter what part, they always do that so well, Lovey. Oh, I was proud of you. Brilliant. We encourage. Do you know, at this bowl music tuning session I was at yesterday evening, there's an Eastern lady there, sort of Malaysian perhaps, I'm not sure. And she's I've never met her before, but she's friendly enough. And at the end she said, and I did so appreciate your singing. Now, I haven't been singing, but at some point I do know that I was chanting to myself, because I was taken with the good intent in the room, and the lady running the session, her intention. Very experienced lady, older lady. And anyway, this Eastern lady is laying next to me. Laying next to me, that sounds strange, doesn't it? But you know what I mean. She says to me, I did so enjoyed your singing. Now, of course, if anything's going to flatter Marshall, it's that. Because I see my singing as an integral part of the worship of God. I mean, we're not at a church meeting here, but that's my whole being. And I'd been singing in the morning in church, a carol, a night divine. And it meant a great deal in the morning when I was singing it. I was singing it strongly, to say the least, in church. And this lady says to me, laying next to me, at the end says, enjoy your singing. In other words, she saw it as part of the goodness of the meeting. Well, it just meant a lot to me. Incredible encouragement to me. You might say, Marshall, the last thing you need is encouragement. You're far too much to handle already. But still, yeah. Oh, now I've lost my mind. Let me pause a sec. We are then saying that we speak in parables. We are faced here with a great lack of understanding and knowledge, great uncertainty. And we bring to it, from our deepest being, our best hopes and intentions of goodness. And hence, we choose to hold to the best explanation of things with that regard. I choose to trust there is a wonderful God. I choose to trust that you are, in the true reality, a wonderful person who, like me, also in the true reality, is a wonderful person. And we've come here to try and be more wonderful. And I'm going to value you in that light because I can imagine nothing better at present. To arm me that I think well of you, and am, as I understand it, most likely, therefore, to bring out the best in you, far more likely than having some preconception that you are some wicked, evil person that's come to torment me and those I love and care for. And I must crush you at all costs. I mean, it's obvious, isn't it? Any idiot could tell you that. In uncertainty, what I choose to believe is what I am. And if it's only for the part of this play, wow, it's bringing me great pleasure and joy to play this part. Perhaps you'd like to play this part as well. And what would happen if we were all playing this part? Wow. That would be heaven, wouldn't it? Until we see something better. Bless you. Thank you, Dad.